first thing we're going to do is go through the strategic plan that we're working under, and then talk about Anthony Lang's ministry, and then some things coming up in 2026. So let's start with prayer. Our gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for gathering us together in this place as a church family. Thank you for your goodness to us, your kindness in helping us to serve together as ministers of Jesus Christ. And we thank you for the joy we have in Christ and the fellowship that we have together with each other. We pray this morning, Lord, that this would be a time when we can communicate well with each other about things that are happening or have happened or will happen. And we pray, Lord, that you would be glorified in this time. Amen. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is, by the way, has everyone seen this welcome packet out in the church foyer? All right, so this has in it, so we don't know, for visitors, we don't know where they're coming from or where they're at spiritually. So it has an ultimate questions book in there, which answers those big life questions. Why are we here? What about sin and so forth? What are the solutions? But then also, we share with people a copy of the strategic plan that we're working under. And the reason for that is to let people know what we're trying to accomplish as a local church. And the plan that we're working under now is 2020, I just had it, 2024 to 2027, 2025, 2026, 2027. So it's a 4-year plan. And we're at the end of the 3rd year. So we have a full year going to complete this, or complete the initiatives in there. What we wanted to do today is do like a little recap and say, okay, after nearly 3 years of working on this, where are we at? Because our previous plans have been 3 years. This is the one that we incorporated a 4th year in order to include the transitioning of pastors from Fred to someone else. So I want to go through this, and Fred and I met on Wednesday night, and we kind of went through this as well and said, okay, with the initiatives, what are some things that we've done to move that initiative forward? And maybe what are some things that still need to be done? So I'm just going to go through these. The first section is growing deeper and minister to shut-ins and widows and widowers. So under that, we have the fact that Susan and Fred regularly go and visit shut-ins, and then seniors and others among the church family are making contact as well. So I know we do that sometimes, and you do that sometimes. So we're feeling positive about that because the reason that this initiative was created was to make sure that, because we have so many people, especially after COVID, that are just out there not physically attending church on Sundays, usually because they're physically not able to. We want to make sure that those people are still ministered to. So on your strategic plan, you have little check boxes next to some of these, and those are ones that we feel like, okay, if the strategic plan were to end in 2025, these are ones that we're pretty confident we can check off as having accomplished. The next one is develop avenues for family and children teen discipleship. There was a parenting ABF class held in the fall, which Fred led, and many of you attended. So that was a means been doing in terms of bringing the men together, bringing the women together for fellowship purposes and teaching purposes. There's been ladies and men's retreats, the Abide Ladies Bible studies, men's outings, Saturday monthly breakfasts. I think we missed one there. The ladies went on a retreat this summer, right? Fall, okay, yep. Yeah, so that was good. So any questions about any of those things under those initiatives of growing deeper? Questions or thoughts that you'd like to share? Yes, Paul.
Training and mentor leadership, what's the plan there? What's the ideology or direction?
Yeah, so Paul's question is under the train and mentor leaders, what is the plan for that? I would say that our desire is to have more, not just men. I mean, on the men's side, to be developing men into be able to serve in deacons and elders, those roles. And then on the women's side too, women training women to be strong leaders, whether it be in their home or in the church ministry. So this is one that's not checked, right? So we're open to ideas about that. It's something that we've really, there's a need there, right? So I think that internally there are men mentoring men and women mentoring women. We don't track that. We don't use that as a metric, but that's happening. We'd like to see more of that and encourage more of that. And also to be able to, if a fellow wants to mentor someone else, to make sure that you're equipped to mentor. And also to be able to define what mentorship means, right? Because that's one thing that when Anthony comes on board, part of the transition idea is that he will be mentored into the role that he's going to be taking on and growing in that role. So, but we haven't defined what sort of mentoring that is. And we were talking about it, and you said you have one idea of what mentoring might be, and Anthony might have another idea of what mentoring might be. But we just want to make sure that that's happening. So, yeah, again, if there are any ideas or thoughts about that, be happy to take them on. I think in prior iterations of the strategic plan, we had something about mentoring as well. And we found we want to make sure it's part of the plan because it's important, but we have a hard time tracking that. You know, like how many even in this room, how many older men are meeting with younger men for the purpose of spiritual discipleship and mentoring? I don't know. Or the same thing with women as well. Yeah. Good question. Very good question. All right. The next section is reaching out. And the first one there is cultivate an evangelistic mindset and provide resources. So Fred preached through Acts, which is obviously something talking about the early growth of the church, how the disciples were going out and preaching the gospel and sharing the gospel. People were being saved, and so there was obviously a lot of the application part of going through Acts was share the gospel, right, and do that. We have materials like Ultimate Questions and other resources that are there available to you. So if you know someone who is not a Christian and you're having conversations with them, or you expect to meet someone or have an opportunity to meet with someone, we have things there for you to hand off and to share. And we've talked about this previously, but I often use Ultimate Questions when I'm having evangelistic conversations, because I ask them about the ultimate questions, what those are, and based on their response, that gives me a good idea where they're at spiritually. And then the next thing is to hand them one of those books. So we have that, but we want to continue to do that. Yes.
Anthony will be teaching
January, February, and March.
Right, yep, that's a good point. So Fred said that Anthony will be teaching on evangelism in the first quarter of next year. So that would be very helpful as well. Emphasize hospitality towards guests. This is something that we do, and I think it's something that happens. I know that we share, when people come in, when visitors come in, I know that we as a church family are very good about welcoming people and making them feel comfortable, and also with follow-up in terms of, getting their information and getting together with them. I just think like when Andrew and Hallie came, for example, for the first time, I know that, they felt, just from their response, they felt very welcomed. And I went out with, we got together with Andrew, and we had them over for dinner shortly after that. So this is the kind of thing that we encourage as a church family, just because, I don't know what the statistics are, but a lot of people, they'll come into a church and like they literally come into a church, sit through a service, and walk out without ever having anyone talk with them, right? So we just don't want that to happen. We want to minister to people, even if it's at one time. There are people here that will come and they won't come again, but we want them to feel welcome and treated well while they're here. Next one, create evangelistic activities and outreach. Yeah, oh, Marianne? Yeah, good question. So Marianne asked, she noted that on your list that's not checkmarked as having, we don't consider that accomplished right now, so is there a plan for this in the future? And maybe a formal plan. And we've talked about the idea of...
Yeah, you and I talked,
yeah.
For example, this hasn't been set in motion, but maybe in 2026, we would have a sign up for people to have a meal prepared on a Sunday. And like the Kreps are on for December 14th, the Fromans are on December 21st, the Cecils are on for January 4th, so forth. And so you'd have a meal prepared for company. And so if a guest is here, you would approach them and say, Paul and Tammy, would you like to come over to our house for lunch today? We have something prepared. And if they can't, then ask someone else in the church. Rosardi's, we had a meal prepared for guests, but no one's here. So we've talked about something like that. Rosaria Butterfield has a book on my to-do list to read. Cindy, help me with the title. Evangelism begins with a house key. So that would be something for us to investigate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another detail would be, I think this is Lori Horstman's idea, but having name tags for the greeters as people come in, so you're kind of identified as someone to talk to and to be friendly. So that's good. Did that answer your question, Marianne?
So you could say the hospitality is happening, but we'd like to see it enhanced or purposeful, and not just kind of occasional.
Yeah. Yeah, so Marianne asked if we want to have something, or the goal is to have something more formal in place for that, and the answer is yes. So, have that in mind. If you want to be a part of that, what Fred just described, for example, let us know, and we'll add you to that list. Okay, create evangelistic activities and outreach. We had 2 Fall Fest events. Very, very thankful for everyone who was engaged in those and for the turnout from the community and the good things that came from that. The Ladies' Christmas Teas are an excellent way for reaching out to unsaved people, to bring them in to not only enjoy a great meal and great time together, but also to hear the gospel. We've had, as follow-up to the Fall Fest, we've done Christianity Explored and a movie night. So we're going to continue that momentum into the final year of the strategic plan. And I'm sure that there will be other things that come up that we'll be talking about in terms of bringing non-Christians in ways that we can share the gospel with them, but also in terms of our personal outreach and going out to people and making contact with those, friends and family and people that haven't heard the gospel or need to hear it again. And then finally, utilize the biblical counseling ministry for evangelism. That's something that's happening all the time. I mean, fundamentally, people, if you don't know this, when people come into Hope Baptist Church for biblical counseling, they have to fill out an intake form. And one of the questions is, are you a Christian? Or, what is your testimony of your relationship with Christ? And sometimes people say, no, I'm not a Christian. And so that's, and the foundation of biblical counseling is using the Bible, right? So they understand when they come in, okay, we're going to be using the Bible in order to answer your questions and to respond to the need in your life. And that's intrinsically evangelistic in those cases for non-Christians. Very good. Is there any questions about reaching out? Questions or ideas? Yeah, Lori.
Should we be out in the community a little bit more? I work just down the street, and they've never heard Old Baptist Church until I remember.
Okay, so the question is, should we be out in the community more? I work down the street. I know people that haven't heard of Hope Baptist Church. Yeah, we're open to ideas. Yeah. I mean, in a sense, we are all out in the community. We have our jobs, our schools, and everything like that. So hopefully, as you are in the community and I'm in the community, we're talking about Christ and sharing truth with people. So yeah, as much as possible. Someone else? Paul?
So I noticed, long back, you started out with Facebook, but what do we do on social media? How do we push out stuff out there? Because I don't see anything in social media coming from even our Facebook page. I haven't seen anything posted down there in quite a while.
Okay. Yeah, Paul's asking about the Hope Baptist Church Facebook page. Not a lot of activity there. And I think that's one of the... Yeah, we need someone to lead that, and also that's something that I think that Anthony will be involved in when he gets here. That would be one of his tasks, to evaluate that. Not only the Facebook page, but also the HBC website. See what kind of improvements we can make there, and also ways to use that as a means of communicating with people, getting the word out. Yeah, good question, Matthew. Mm-hmm.
And it also is there, between 10:15 and 10:30. Maybe a short opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the thought with having hot soup on the stove, ready to go at noon. I do think we are hitting that, even a little.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to sell us so short. Yes, Mary.
Can we talk about the run, the September 11th?
Oh.
How we said invitations. to
Yeah.
everybody?
You probably weren't aware of this. We printed and used outreach funding to put in the 9/11 Hero Run, which occurs through the township and fire department, bags or cards that said, "Hey, here's Hope Baptist Church. We, here's our address. Here's what we are about." And so that was put through all bags. I think there was about 150 runners, if I remember correctly. So that was also conducted, and I'm sorry that went unnoticed.
Mm-hmm.
That was done at your asking. I had the privilege to work there, and so my colleague asked, "Do we want to put anything in?" So we jumped on that.
Yeah, good. That goes back to Lori's point or question about getting the word out to the community. Cindy.
I might be taking a little bit of a break from Good News Club for a time, but can be unchurched children that come to our Good News Club are invited to our church if they do not have a local church.
Mm-hmm.
Good
Nice. Yes, so Cindy noted that with the Good News Club, that the children that participate and the families are informed about Hope Baptist Church and welcomed to join us here. Yeah, good. Is that about it? Okay. So the next one is. Yes, ministry support, increased ministry participation. So I'm going to go through these relatively quickly because we have other things to do in the 20 minutes remaining. The goal here is to have, we're all giving, we all have spiritual gifts and abilities. We want to see those being used for the edification of the body and providing opportunities for that. So we see new members coming with the praise and sound booth teams. New children's Sunday school classes starting in the first quarter of next year. We have whole Baptist Church work days, opportunities for men to teach, safety team, which we'll spend a little bit of time on shortly. So those things are happening. Providing professional development and pastoral rest. So David and Sue Froman attended the SING conference in the fall of 2024 just to encourage them in their work on the praise team and also to help them to generate ideas for things that they might like to do here at Hope Baptist. Men attended the Basics Conference in 2024 and 2025, and then of course we had Fred's sabbatical in 2024. Increasing the number of qualified elders, our numbers are going to increase by 50% on January 1st. Yeah, so Anthony Lang is joining the elder body very shortly. And then continuing on, we ought to create a plan for the vocational pastor's retirement. Anthony Lang was called in June. The transition, thank you finance team, the transition has been fully funded, so we've been able to provide for that. Invest in facility improvements, and there's a list of improvements there, air conditioning, a lot of painting going on, new carpet. And then the counseling ministry has been, in order to accommodate Anthony's office over here, the counseling ministry has been moved downstairs. And so that whole area was painted and the spaces have been refurbished and made hospitable for counseling. So thank you for, I know Greg Hayes and others, Don, others were involved in that. So thank you very much for everyone who is a part of that. And then this last one, improving first impressions. This kind of gets to your thought, Paul, about the Facebook. You know, for many people today, the first impression of anything is what they see on social media. So our website needs to be, no, something more dramatic than refreshed. Reformed, redone, I don't know. It needs help. And then, yeah, ideas like that about Facebook and whatever we have, and also the physical building itself. So I think, you know, we do a great job collectively of taking care of the exterior of the building, but the signage is dull, faded. So I think that'll be something that'll be coming out. Greg? Okay, so that might be, our size might be refreshed in 2026, it sounds like. Good. And then finally, the last one is improving emergency preparedness. So I'm just asked Joseph Cecil, since he's kind of spearheading this on behalf of the deacons, if he'd just share 3 to 5 minutes about what's been going on.
All right, 35 minutes, not a lot of time, but we'll. So this has been a part of our strategic plan now, and it's been something that we've worked on as a church kind of on and off over the years. Randy Barton was involved for a while, and Matt Price did a lot of work, especially on the safety aspect, and we're grateful for that, but wanted to try to take it over the finish line if we can and have something that's functional that we can implement and encourage with the church. And of course, you know, headlines run rampant about dangers and things that have happened even just here in Michigan this year. And so it brings a little bit of a sense of urgency to it in some ways, where we want as a church to intentionally prepare ourselves to just care for our members and ensure that everyone here feels welcomed, but also safe and cared for. And so as part of that, we have a group of men, Matt Price, Joe Hart, Paul Recker, Jan Peck, and myself, who have met a couple times now to kind of assess and discuss where we are as a church, what improvements we could make. Each of them brings actually a lot of expertise in different areas to that, and so I'm really grateful for those men who are serving. I attended several trainings this fall, and then Paul Recker and I attended a conference together out at Graham Church. And so we're trying to take some of that. There's kind of three different aspects to this that we're assessing and hope to address here, even many of them in 2026. One is just policies that we can put in place, simple policies that we could put in place to help to improve the safety of the church. One of those, small things, we've already done some. You'll notice the Dean Avenue door is locked after 10:45, right? So that we only have one entrance point to the church, one point of egress into the building during service time. So that's a huge help. I know Julie has been working really diligently and getting background checks and making sure that our policies for our children's ministry is up to date and continuing to move forward with that. Other policies that we're talking about, I'll just give one example. I have a dear friend, their church, they encourage the men just to sit on the outside of the row, right? That way, if there is some kind of disturbance, you don't have to crawl over 12 kids to get to the door or get to the hallway, right? My grandparents' church multiple times would have a homeless person wander in and just kind of walk up the center aisle. That happened 2 or 3 times while my grandfather was pastoring, and things like that where we can, not even an emergency situation, but just a care situation where we can make sure that there's kind of order and focus and care for the congregation in that. So that's kind of policies, and we'll look at additional things there and make a formal recommendation. We kind of give a draft recommendation to the elders. Policies would be one part of that. Second part would be building improvements. There are aspects to the building that could be done, some more affordably than others, to really improve the safety of the property. One of those things is anti-shatter film that could go on our glass doors. We kind of have greenhouses for entrances, especially on Dean here. And so something where if someone was trying to break through the glass, even an evening in the middle of the week, somebody trying to get into the building, that would help really diminish that. Making sure that we have proper lighting on the exterior of the building. Really grateful. I know Mary got a lot of the light bulbs. We had a lot of out light bulbs on our parking lot lights, and those are replaced. But there's a couple dark spots at night, and we have gals who come in here and counsel during the middle of the week, and it's awfully dark this time of year, and so we want to make sure that the building is well lit in regards to that. Another thing, and probably one of the more important ones, is steel bollards, or anti-ram improvements. So you see them walking up to any store, walking up to Walmart, just those steel pillars, sometimes with a plastic cover over them. And this is all done out of a spirit of protection, not out of a spirit of paranoia. But the 2 churches that have been attacked this year in Michigan, both of them were rammed with a car to gain entrance to the building, rammed the doors with a vehicle. And so one of the biggest recommendations that's passed down from FEMA and MSP and other organizations is what they call anti-ram or these bollards. And so we'd like to install those bollards on the exterior of the building around, especially these 2 entrances especially. Those would be painted brown to kind of match the trim of the building. They're not going to be ugly. They're not going to be a big eyesore. You see them everywhere, and you probably don't, because you just kind of walk past them and you don't notice them. So there's a couple other things within that category, but that's kind of our second category, which is building improvements. Third category would be the discussion and hopefully the creation of a safety team. And we use that word intentionally, safety, more than even just security. This isn't armed guards at the door. That's not the goal. That's not the intent. The intent is actually, this is an offshoot of hospitality, ensuring that people are seen and welcomed, and part of that adds a huge element of safety as well. There's some safety training involved with that. We'd love to get a few more people with CPR training. We'd like to get an updated kind of first aid station, make sure the AED is replaced on time, have kind of a more trauma-based first aid kit that we have available as well, things like that. At Graham Church, you know, as Paul and I were there, you walk down the hallway to the bathroom, and they have a trauma first aid kit and a bleed control kit and an AED right there over the drinking fountain where everybody knows where they are, everyone can see them, things like that. And so we're discussing how we could potentially build a safety team that would function, I think, in conjunction with the ushers as well. And so maybe we have 2 people out there during the Sunday, but that requires some time and investment from folks. But we're kind of looking at what that structure would be and how we can best make that recommendation to the elders and of course to the church. So those are kind of our 3 categories. Again, thankful for the men who are meeting and helping with this. We're going to meet again early in January. For example, at that point, we're going to do, as a group, some of us have done it individually, but as a group, we're going to walk through and assess the whole building and look at some other recommendations. If you have any concerns or recommendations or questions that you have about the safety of the church, the property, or policies, feel free to reach out to me and share those with me. You can grab me after church, send me a text, send me an email, give me a call. Would happily take any of those. But that's kind of our 3 areas that we're assessing and looking at right now.
Thank you very much, Joseph. So any quick questions there about ministry support? Okay. Yeah. Yes?
So we can talk to Steve, but we have had sheriff and MSP in the building and local PD, and so we're working with that.
Okay, so the question was, as these ideas for the safety team are being developed, or our church policy, is anyone being consulted from the outside on that? And Joseph's answer is yes. Michigan State Police.
Well, yeah, we're looking,
Sheriff's Office. Yep. Local law enforcement.
That's our goal. Everything that we're doing, we're trying to make sure that it is the right thing, not just our ideas or our suggestions, that it is kind of verified and approved.
Good. Thank you. So if we went through this pretty quickly, if you asked a question and it wasn't answered well or thoroughly, please let me know afterwards. If you have ideas of anything related to the strategic plan, feel free to share those with Fred and I. Otherwise, we're going to move on. Fred?
So I am very excited about Anthony joining our pastoral team. He is too. He and I talk and text usually several times each week, and just talked to him yesterday. We're going to have a welcome service on January 4th for them. And so I'm going to break from our series in 1 Kings, preach a message in the pastoral epistle of 1 Timothy. We're going to have a time of laying on of hands, which was practiced often in the New Testament. We'll explain more of that later. Have communion service, welcoming him for that, participating in that, and then a potluck. And we need you to sign up in the back for potluck service. So it'll just be a really special time. We want them to feel this is their church. Anthony will be teaching in the ABF, which I'm looking forward to, a class on biblical foundations for evangelism. It's a apologetics/evangelism class. So that will be taking place here in the auditorium. Of course, Paul mentioned his office is located between Mary's office and mine, the old assistant pastor's office that was the counseling room, and we're getting that set up for him. He'll be fulfilling a job description. We had his job description posted in the back on the kiosk when he was candidating here, and so we'll be working through that. He'll be also sharing and preaching in the worship service. So this is a transition period. So I will be finishing out my series in 1 Kings before Easter. I will be gone on vacation 2 weeks in February, so he's going to continue Kings when I'm gone 2 weeks. And then he and I are going to share a series called New Testament Postcards. So it's the one-chapter books in the New Testament. 2 John, 3 John, Philemon, and Jude. We haven't figured this out yet. Once he's here, we'll sit down and kind of divide up those books as how they would be divided up in preaching. And then we don't really know. I'll preach maybe twice, then he would preach once or whatever, but we will be working him into the preaching schedule. So he has opportunity to preach, you have opportunity to hear him, and so forth. So we're looking forward to that. Any questions about Anthony's ministry, what he'll be doing when he's here? So, someone asked the question, so for example, if he's preaching next Sunday, what will I do during that week? Well, ministry always finds you. So there's always things to do. I'm behind right now in the shut-in calling. There's discipleship. Paul Recker mentioned the mentoring aspect. I would love to invest more time in that. There's only so much time in the week. So when I'm not preaching, or when he's not preaching, we will be investing more in those things. Yeah, Diane. That's part of his job description. Yeah, will Anthony be part of the counseling ministry? He is ACBC certified. And so, yes, he will. In fact, we've already talked to him about a couple counseling opportunities that he'll have when he arrives, but he will be involved in the counseling ministry. And we need more men. We sure do. Yeah, Paul.
Could you describe the mentorship process that you're going to go through with Anthony?
Yeah, well, describe the mentoring process. So, Anthony has said to me on numerous occasions, I want to be mentored. And I have said to him, I want to mentor you. So I've said this to him. I said, I know what I mean by mentoring. I'm sure he knows what he means by mentoring. And I'm sure they somewhat overlap a little bit. But once he's here, we're going to sit down and talk about that. What does that look like? One of his job descriptions is reading books together. So I've already given him the book, The Word Became Fresh, by Dale Ralph Davis, How to Preach Old Testament Narrative. And so we'll be going through that book the month of January, talking about that. So we'll be reading together, talking together, meeting together, praying together. So, but that's what we know right now, but we'll know more. Paul and I also talked about an opportunity of 2026 of Paul, Anthony, and I going away somewhere. We used to do that with Basics. Basics is no longer going to be held, so we might do something on our own. Any other question? Good questions? Oh, yes, sorry.
Being that Anthony's starting a new job, should we have some sort of, not welcoming, maybe it's a welcoming card or, hey, glad you're here. Yes, he knows, many of us have been doing that.
Are you volunteering to?
I would be volunteering to start a, hey, you're welcome here card,
Yeah,
right?
that would be great.
Just, even if it's a, maybe it's a one little card with us signing off.
Sure.
I just think, just being.
I think that would be fantastic. Yes, Mary Ann?
So Anthony mentioned that we're gonna go back and forth.
Yes.
Potentially. I imagine their kids are gonna be exhausted after church, but they still need to eat lunch. Do you think after January 4th potluck, the other Sundays, they would want to eat with folks before they head back for the afternoon?
That would be, yes. Mary Ann asked about, they'll be driving back and forth between Livonia for a few weeks. Feel free to welcome them for dinner. I know sometimes with small children, I don't know what NAP schedule is like, but feel free to welcome them and say, hey, we'd like to have you come over for dinner February 11th or January 11th, something like that. Yes, I'll follow up with him. I see him tomorrow. He and I, Terry McIntosh, are meeting tomorrow in Howell. Yes. That I don't know offhand. They have access to this mission house at their home church, at Grove Bible Church, in January. So they'll be moving there. That's fully furnished. So they're putting their belongings in pods or whatever, and then they'll have those pods available when they purchase a house. So I think Berean is helping them on that end. When they do find a house, then we would be probably wanting to help them when they actually move. But I'll check on that as well. Thank you. Yep. Eliana? One of his job descriptions is he will be visiting in your home, getting to know you. Very good. Okay, we're out of time, but in 2026, our annual meeting and potluck service will be on February 1st. I'm really excited to announce that we will be hosting the first Mid-Michigan Biblical Counseling Conference here on a Friday night and a Saturday morning, patterned a little bit after Magnify. Other churches will be helping us. Garrett Higbee is the speaker. But this opportunity, we expect probably around 75 to 100 people here. And this is where we're going to need you, all hands on deck, as hosts and hostesses with helping. So we'll tell you more about that in the days ahead. Developing a new strategic plan coming up. The furloughs for Bells and DeRussas, and then I'm also happy to announce that in 2027, Holt Baptist Church will be celebrating their 75th anniversary. So we want to plan some special things for that. Okay, time is up. Thank you for being here. Looking forward to what God has in store for us. You are to